Hey there, fellow zombie enthusiasts. Welcome to the Drunken Zombies Podcast. I'm Adrian, your host for all things undead.
And I'm Julia, ready to
Yeah.
delve into some seriously creepy zombie tales with you.
Each day, we bring you a fresh, addictive zombie story.
The kind that'll have you double-checking
Oh, yeah.
those closet doors and craving more.
And today's story.
Oh, it's a wild one. We're talking about a world on the brink where survival hinges on a mysterious countdown and a pulse that might just hit the reset button on humanity.
So grab your favorite drink
Settle in.
and get ready for some chills because we're about to crack open this zombie story.
If you like what you hear.
Don't forget to rate and follow for more tales of brains and mayhem.
Now let's get into it.
All right, so we find ourselves in a world ravaged by a zombie pandemic.
We're not talking about your typical isolated outbreak. This thing has gone global.
Cities are desolate, silent ruins.
Yeah.
And the survivors, well, they're carrying the weight of unimaginable loss, the scars of a fight for their very existence.
It's bleak, right?
But amidst all this darkness, there's this glimmer of hope.
A small group of survivors find each other in this wasteland.
They're drawn together by more than just the need to survive, right? You get the sense that there's this shared whisper of hope, something that keeps them going.
So who are these brave souls venturing through the zombie apocalypse? We've got a disillusioned scientist.
Someone who once thrived in labs and research, now forced to confront the rawness of survival.
Then there's the pragmatic survivalist. Think sharp instincts, hyper-aware, always ready for danger.
Those two sound like a recipe for some serious personality clashes.
Don't forget, we've also got a tech-savvy teenager.
Someone who might just be able to use the remnants of the old world to their advantage.
And last but certainly not least, a mysterious historian. She holds knowledge of ancient prophecies, and that knowledge is going to be key to their journey.
Prophecies.
Yeah.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Where do those come into play?
Well, picture this. These survivors stumble upon an ancient ruin, a place untouched by the devastation around it. It's like a pocket of the past, frozen in time in a world that's gone completely sideways.
What do they find inside this ruin?
They find a chamber with a holographic countdown clock. It just flickers to life when they accidentally trigger a hidden mechanism.
A countdown.
Yeah.
That's seriously creepy. What does it mean?
The historian believes it's connected to an ancient mechanism, something capable of resetting the Earth and wiping out the zombie pandemic.
A reset button for the entire planet. That's a huge gamble. What are the chances it actually works? And what happens if it backfires?
That's what they're trying to figure out. It sends them on a quest to follow clues scattered across what's left of the world. Each step they take reveals more about the civilization that built this countdown, their technology, their challenges, and maybe their motivations for creating such a drastic solution.
It's like a twisted scavenger hunt with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. But this is a zombie apocalypse, so it can't be all smooth sailing, right?
Right.
What kind of obstacles do they encounter?
Are you kidding? This is a post-apocalyptic world gone wrong. We're talking ancient traps hidden in these ruins. Think Indiana Jones level danger. Then you've got other survivors, some driven to desperate measures by greed, others just trying to survive by any means necessary.
So it's not just the undead they have to worry about, it's the living, too. The classic post-apocalyptic dilemma.
Exactly. And then there are the internal conflicts within the group itself. Personalities clash, doubts creep in, the pressure is immense.
It really makes you wonder, can they overcome these challenges? Can they actually pull this off?
It sounds like a mutiny waiting to happen.
But you mentioned ancient prophecies. What role do they play in all of this?
The prophecies are woven into the clues they're following. They offer glimpses into the past, hints about the countdown's purpose and how to activate it, but they're also shrouded in mystery, open to interpretation.
Which leads to some serious conflict when they discover an underwater temple. An underwater temple. Okay, now that's a curveball. What's so special about this temple?
It's a crucial piece of the puzzle directly tied to the countdown. But here's where things get really complicated. The historian believes that activating the reset mechanism might require a human sacrifice.
A human sacrifice. Wow, that takes the stakes to a whole new level. It's one thing to risk your own life for survival, but to sacrifice someone else for the greater good. That's a moral dilemma of epic proportions.
Absolutely. It tears the group apart. The historian believes it's a necessary evil for the greater good. The scientist is desperately searching for another way. The survivalist and the teenager are caught in the middle, wrestling with the potential cost of survival. Is a reset worth a life? It's a question that weighs heavily on all of them.
That's a heavy burden to carry. I can't even imagine having to make that choice.
No one should. But that's the reality of their world. They're forced to confront these impossible choices. And things escalate even further when they encounter another group inside the temple, a rival faction that also wants control of the countdown.
So it's a fight for the fate of the world, literally. A battle for the reset button.
Exactly. And it all comes to a head in this climactic showdown inside the temple. Remember, this temple is ancient, filled with secrets, and both sides are trying to use the environment to their advantage.
We're talking booby traps, hidden passages, maybe even some ancient weaponry.
You got it. It's a chaotic mix of futuristic tech and age-old secrets. The teenager's skills come in handy here. He's able to decipher some of the ancient technology, giving them an edge in the fight. But in the midst of all this chaos, the historian has a sudden epiphany. It's not sacrifice that activates the reset, but unity.
Unity? What do you mean?
She realizes that the ancients weren't looking for a sacrificial lamb. They were testing humanity's ability to come together, to overcome their differences, and work towards a common goal.
So in a way, the real test wasn't about survival. It was about something much deeper, about our capacity for compassion and cooperation.
Exactly. And that realization shifts everything. Even their rivals, some of them at least, start to see the bigger picture.
So they all team up to activate the reset. Put aside their differences for the sake of humanity.
Not all of them. Some diehards cling to their power-hungry ways, but most realize that working together is the only way forward. They pool their knowledge, their skills, their strengths to try and trigger this global reset.
It's a powerful moment. It shows that even in the face of a global apocalypse, there's still hope for unity, for finding common ground. But what happens when they finally activate this thing? What does a global reset actually look like?
Well, imagine a massive pulse sweeping across the globe. It neutralizes the zombies, which is the good news, but there's a catch. It also wipes out all electronic data. Everything.
Wait, so no more internet, no more smartphones, nothing. Back to the Stone Age.
That's right. Humanity is forced to start again from scratch, with only what they can carry. It's a clean slate, but it's also a daunting challenge.
So the countdown wasn't the end. It was just the beginning, the start of a whole new chapter for humanity.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What would we lose, but also what would we gain from such a drastic reset?
Starting over with absolutely nothing. That sounds terrifying.
It is daunting. There's no denying that. But think about it for a second. No more constant notifications, no more doom scrolling, no more being tethered to these devices. It's a forced digital detox on a global scale.
Maybe there's a silver lining to that.
Right.
A chance to reconnect with ourselves, with each other, with the natural world. It's like the universe hit the reset button, not just on the zombie pandemic, but on our entire way of life.
And that's what I find so fascinating about this story.
Yeah.
It's not just a zombie apocalypse.
Right.
It's a commentary on our relationship with technology, with progress, with the very systems we've built.
You mentioned earlier that the survivors see this as an opportunity to build a better future. What does that even look like in a world stripped bare?
That's the question, isn't it? And I think the story leaves it open for us to ponder. What mistakes led to the pandemic in the first place? Was it our reliance on technology, our disregard for the environment, our inability to address social inequalities? The reset forces them to confront these questions, to rebuild, but to do it differently.
It's a chance to create a more equitable world, more sustainable world, maybe even a more connected world where people are forced to rely on each other instead of their devices.
There's something poetic about that, isn't there?
Yeah.
This idea of finding unity and connection in the aftermath of such devastation.
But let's rewind a bit. You mentioned a rival faction battling for control of the countdown. What was their endgame?
They were also tracking the clues, but their interpretation of the prophecy was different.
Okay.
They saw the reset as a way to seize power, to reshape the world in their image.
The classic power-hungry villains.
Yeah.
Always trying to exploit a crisis for their own gain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And their clash with our protagonists inside that ancient temple is where the story really kicks into high gear.
What makes this battle so intense?
Well, first off, you've got the setting itself. This ancient temple is like a character in its own right, filled with booby traps, hidden passages, and who knows what other secrets.
So we've got Indiana Jones vibes mixed with a post-apocalyptic showdown.
Precisely.
And then you've got the different motivations at play.
Right.
Our protagonists are driven by this desire to save humanity, while the antagonists are fueled by greed and this lust for power.
It's like a microcosm of the conflicts that plague our world even without a zombie apocalypse.
And it's in the midst of this chaos that the historian has her epiphany about unity.
Right. It's not about sacrificing one life to save the many. It's about finding common ground, about recognizing our shared humanity.
That moment is so pivotal.
It is.
It challenges us to think about what true unity actually looks like. It's not about erasing our differences or blindly following one leader. It's about acknowledging our interconnectedness and working together towards a common goal.
And in a way, that's a much harder task than simply flipping a reset switch.
Absolutely. It requires empathy, compassion, a willingness to listen, and compromise. And it's not something that happens overnight.
No.
But the story shows us that it's possible. Even amidst the ruins of a fallen world, even when surrounded by enemies, there's still a flicker of hope for unity.
And that message resonates even more powerfully when you consider the ending of the story, this global reset that wipes out all technology. It's such a bold move. What do you think the author was trying to say with that?
I think it's a challenge to our dependence on technology.
Yeah.
We've become so reliant on our devices, on the digital world, that we've lost touch with something essential.
Our connection to ourselves, to each other, to the natural world.
Exactly. The reset forces these survivors to confront that head-on. They have to rediscover what it means to be human in a world stripped bare.
Like a thought experiment. What would we lose, but also what would we gain from a digital detox of that magnitude?
And it's not just about technology. It's about the systems we've built, the power structures, the inequalities. The reset is a chance to rebuild, but to do it differently.
To create a more equitable, more sustainable world.
Yes, it's an optimistic message, even amidst all the chaos and loss. Humanity might stumble, but it has the potential to learn and grow.
And that's a powerful takeaway. It leaves the listener with a lot to think about.
The story really throws you for a loop.
Yeah, it's got the thrilling action, the moral dilemmas, and then that unexpected twist at the end that leaves you pondering long after the story is finished.
What struck you most about this particular zombie tale?
You know what's interesting to me is how the story highlights those different reactions people have to a crisis of this magnitude.
Okay.
You got the historian clinging to ancient prophecies for answers, the scientist searching for a logical solution, the survivalist focused on the immediate practicalities of staying alive.
Yeah.
It really showcases how our individual beliefs and experiences color our responses to extraordinary events.
It's like we all have these default settings that kick in when the world turns upside down.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then there's that teenager stuck in the middle of it all, trying to navigate this new reality thrust upon him.
Oh, yeah.
He represents that younger generation forced to adapt and evolve in a world they didn't create.
And his tech skills become so crucial. It underscores that even in a world stripped bare, knowledge and ingenuity can be powerful tools for survival and for change.
Knowledge is power, as they say.
Yeah.
But this story takes that idea a step further. It highlights how true power comes from unity, from collaboration, from understanding that we're all in this together.
It's not about individual heroism. It's about collective action.
Right.
About recognizing that our differences can actually be our strengths.
Yeah. That global reset isn't just about wiping out the zombies. It's about giving humanity a chance to hit the reset button on its own internal conflicts, its divisions, its self-destructive tendencies.
It's an invitation to rebuild, but to rebuild with intention, with a focus on equity and sustainability and connection.
What a powerful concept.
Right.
This idea that even amidst a zombie apocalypse, there's this opportunity for growth and transformation.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Could we actually learn from our mistakes and build a better world if given a second chance? Or would we just fall back into the same patterns of behavior?
I think that's the question the story poses to us. It's a challenge to examine our own values, our priorities, our willingness to change.
And it reminds us that even in the darkest of times, there's always a glimmer of hope.
Hope for a brighter future, for a more connected and compassionate world.
Hope fueled by unity, by understanding, by the recognition that we're all part of something larger than ourselves.
Beautifully said.
Well, folks, another spine-tingling tale down the hatch. What are your thoughts on this one? Did it leave you craving more brains? Or maybe something a little stronger?
Let us know in the comments and be sure to hit that follow button for more bone-chilling tales on the Drunken Zombies Podcast.
Until next time, stay thirsty, my friends, and watch out for those wandering hordes.